ॐ नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Welcome all. In previous session we saw the first chapter of Jnana Yoga, the necessity of religion. In the next chapter, the real nature of man, Swamiji goes deep into the topic of what constitutes as the real self of man. This lecture was delivered by Swamiji in London in 1896, and it starts with a very powerful statement. Swamiji says, "Great is the tenacity with which man clings to the senses." Then he goes on to portray that how human beings cling to physical senses and the body. Despite they experience in life the transitoriness of everything, happiness soon turns into misery, fortunes change, relationships change. And through all this, sooner or later a human mind buffeted by these fleeting happiness and fortunes of this sense life, ask the question, is this real? Also the fact that death puts a full stop to everything that is experienced or accumulated. So a thinking human mind naturally asks, is this real? So the fact of death and pursuit of real happiness compels man to question the permanency or the reality of the life as a whole. Two answers are given, Swamiji says. One is given that of a nihilist who says nothing can be known and past, present and future as such are just a fleeting show and there is nothing permanent. So basically the later development of Buddhism, which says that the experience of life, mental and physical, is just a flow of changing particles and there is no permanent entity. And the second answer is that basically that of Vedanta, which says there is something real in this unreal show. There is something permanent in this evanescent show of forms. Then Swamiji says that every religion proclaims crudely or clearly that the current state of human being is a degradation of his or her pure and original state. That is, in the beginning there was a pure and original state, of which the current state is a degradation. Like in Christianity, the Adam was pure in the beginning, then the sin came. Or as Vedanta says, in the beginning was only the consciousness, later on thoughts, and then the world and body, a sort of degradation came in. Even the story of deluge depicted in many religions, wherein seeds of every species was taken and during the deluge those seeds were preserved. In Hinduism also this story comes, and the Manu who collected the seeds of all species for future population of the world. Interestingly, the word man comes from Manu, so we are all children of Manu. Now this, Swamiji says that this idea that in the beginning was the purity and the degradation came later, this goes against the evolutionary theory propounded by Darwin. During Swamiji's time and when he was delivering this lecture in London, at that time the Darwin's theory of evolution was very much in vogue, and that for a couple of centuries in West, religion played a role of putting obstructions in the development of free thinking and scientific research. So people were looking at religion with suspicion that it is obstructionist force, and science, and especially Darwin's idea of evolution, that was more accepted. But what Swamiji is saying here is in the beginning was the pure state and later on degradation. So this is exactly opposite to what the evolutionists say, that man has developed from the crude state to finer state, from molecule to a human being. But Swamiji say this can be countered by saying that the nature of this is cyclic. Every evolution presupposes an involution. From a seed, tree comes, and from tree again seed is obtained, and like that things move in a cycle. So if we find at the end of evolution a great saint like Buddha or Christ, then that greatness must be already involved so as to evolve again. So by this logic, the objection of evolutionists can be countered. Then Swamiji takes up the matter of body and mind. Most religions say that soul or some force or mind manufactures the body. Those who say that the reverse is true, that is, the body produces thought and some sort of consciousness force, this cannot be logically proved. Swamiji says that he raises many objections and shows that clearly that is untenable. On the other hand, he says that it can be proved that force produces matter. He says solidity, hardness, or any other state of matter can be proved to be the result of motion. Just as in a tornado or a vortex, very high velocity swirl gives it a kind of solidity which can cut through the concrete wall. So force, when very rapidly moved, can appear hard and solid, and that's the one indication that the force, some sort of force or mind or thoughts that produce the gross body and the perceived world. The subtle nature of this force was initially thought as a bright or a luminous subtle body which works upon the gross body. But later on it was found that the soul or the Atman is even behind this subtle body or bright body, and that Atman is the real nature of every human being. Thus the search moved from the gross body to subtle or bright body, and then finally to the absolute reality of Atman. So initially they thought that everybody's Atman was separate from each other, just like we experience ourselves separate from each other. The Atman was separate from each and everybody. But when probed deeper, it was realized that the time, space, and causation, that is name and form, is in the mind. And if the Atman, the absolute spiritual entity, is without these, then it must be infinite. It cannot be my Atman is separate from your Atman. That is not the final understanding. That which is unlimited by body and mind, time and space, you and me, that is the infinite Atman or Brahman, the ultimate spiritual reality. And that is the real nature, real individuality of each and every human being, infinite. So perfection is not to be attained, it is already there. We are already that consciousness, but only the thoughts, mind, and the senses perception of gross body and world that apparently creates the division between you, me, and the world, and then the subject-object duality creates all sorts of problems. Thus, it is clear that the evolution belongs to the nature, to the thought, to the mind, and the spirit progressively shows its manifestation through this nature. It's not that the spiritual entity evolves and then attains to the perfection. Perfection is already there. It is the evolution of the nature and manifestation of the absolute spirit. Then Swamiji says that all ethics and morality is because of this one infinite self behind all. And that is the only real source of happiness. And the utility of it is that it will make human beings less selfish, and consequently the society will be harmonious. Without this infinite self and its understanding, men will remain selfish, and there cannot be any harmony between family, society as such. As to the practicality of this, society must follow the truth and change itself so that truth can be practiced. Swamiji is very emphatic on this point. He says that truth does not change itself to suit to any society, ancient or modern. Society has to change itself so that truth can be practiced. And he says, you are the souls, pure, infinite and perfect, even now. Swamiji then gives two examples. One is when Alexander came to India, he saw once a Rishi meditating in forest with infinite calmness on his face. The emperor was very much surprised and asked the man to come with him to his place. The Rishi declined, said that I am fine here, I am very happy here. The emperor tempted him with riches, honor, money, but the Rishi declined. Then the emperor threatened to kill him. The Rishi laughed and he said that is the most stupid thing anyone can say. Nothing can kill me, I am immortal. Sword cannot cut me, fire cannot burn me. So the Rishi had realized the infinite self. This is exactly as the Bhagavad Gita says, the self cannot be cut, it cannot be burnt. It is immortal, infinite spirit. Second example Swamiji gives is the 1857 rebellion that occurred in India against the British rule, the East India Company rule. During that time, there were Hindu and Muslim rebel forces. So one Muslim rebel soldier had killed one Hindu monastic Swami. So when the Hindu rebels caught hold of that Muslim rebel and brought him in front of the Swami and asked if he should be punished and he should be killed, the Swami said, all is that one supreme self. He is Hindu, he is Muslim, he is you and me. So this was a second example, practical example, when the human being has realized the infinite. Then Swamiji narrates another story which is quite famous, which has actually inspired the famous movie Lion King, and it is published as by Ramakrishna Math Mission as the Hari the Lion. Once a lioness was attacking a flock of sheep and she was pregnant, so she died in the effort, but she gave birth to the baby lion, which found itself in the flock of sheep. So the sheep raised the baby lion, and the lion learned to eat grass, bleat like sheep. Even after growing up, it thought itself as a sheep and behaved like a sheep. Once a lion saw this another lion among the flock of sheep, and he was very much surprised. And when he chased the flock, this lion which was raised by the sheep also ran away. So the other lion got hold of him and showed him his face in water and thrust some meat in his mouth, so that and roared like a lion and said that you are not a sheep, you are a lion. So with these experiences, the lion who was raised by the sheep realized that he is not a sheep, he is a lion, and he also gave a big roar. The story indicates that we suffer like a limited entities, limited soul, individuals, covered by body mind, and then we say we are weak, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. That is because we are lion, but we are considering ourselves as sheep. So we have to understand our infinite real nature and live in its majesty, and not some limited weak personality or individuality. So this is in essence the second chapter, the real nature of man. The next is Maya and illusion. Om Tat Sat.